Here we are.
Well,
Hello.
hello, and welcome to episode 21 of Knitting Around LA. I'm Judy,
I'm Julie.
and today we have our very special guest, Connie Roman.
Hi, guys.
Yes, we're super excited to have Connie here today. I personally am invested in today's episode because Connie quilts. And I've been a very long time quilter. So I want to delve into the mysteries of her quilt making because her quilts are spectacular. So,
Well, and I'm invested in today's episode because I've known Connie for 15
Long
years.
time.
When did Surface Art Association start? 15,
Yeah.
I think at least 15,
Yeah,
almost 20 years. So, yes. So it's really great to see you.
it's gonna be fun.
oh, I'm so excited. And I did say prior to our going live that I'm a big fangirl for Connie. I love her work. And I can't believe that not only do we get to meet you today, but you're going to give us a studio tour. And that is just a highlight of, any of our episodes when we get to see not just the artist and their work, but also where the artist makes their work, because that can be as interesting as anything else that we do, because it's a special place. So, Connie, you want to tell us a little, because I don't know you from, past years or any of those things. I just know you through seeing your work. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, let's see. I grew up in Canada. I'm Canadian and American. Ended up marrying an American guy. And so I grew up in the middle of nowhere in British Columbia, in an intentional Quaker community. And so I learned...
It's a Quaker community?
It was a Quaker community. I mean, it was sort of like integrated with the rest of the community around. There was maybe 100 people in this place where I grew up. No stores, nothing. You had to drive an hour down the lake to get to the store.
Wow.
So it was quite remote. And there was a 5 Quaker families that moved up to this part of the world to escape the rat race in the early 50s. Anyways, so that's where I grew up. I learned how to sew when I was very young on my grandmother's treadle sewing machine.
Oh my God.
I figured out, probably it was about when I was in middle school, I figured out that my mom, who had grown up in the Depression, always thought that it was way more expensive to buy clothes ready-made. So she would always buy me patterns and fabrics so that I could make my own clothes. So I figured this out and I was like, okay, Vogue patterns, really nice fabric. And then that's how I really got into sewing then.
Wow.
And I had grown up making quilts and doing that kind of stuff as well. So it was when I had young kids, fast forward, I'm living in Los Angeles and I have young kids, and they were at a co-op nursery school, and I was asked to be on a committee to make a group quilt to sell for a fundraiser. And that's when I got back into sewing and started doing quilts, and then art quilts and textile arts. And that's how I sort of ended up here.
Cool.
Yeah, that's a wonderful story. And I love that you began life with a treadle machine.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So it must, you've spanned the entire, well, I'm sure that you also learned hand quilting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hand quilting, embroidery, all those things. Yeah.
And now you're the master of the machine. Oh my gosh.
I love my machine. I have a Bernina 820 and I love it.
I have a Bernina 1230.
Yeah. They're good machines. They're really excellent. Although I do have to say that, unfortunately, my machine is not here today because yesterday it started giving me problems and I had to take it in. It was way overdue for a checkup and the sensors weren't working anyway. So it's gone for a few days.
tell me, does your 830, what kind of throat does it have? Is it a longer throat? Like I love mine, my 1230, but doesn't have a lot of throat space for quilting.
I mean, in between the arm and the needle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had an earlier Bernina, I forget which model it was, and it was shorter, but this one has a much longer space in between. So it's I can't remember how many inches it is, but I can do bigger pieces with this, which I'm struggling to do right now. I have this huge piece that I'm working on, and it's pretty much almost too big for this machine.
That was one of the questions I had looking at your pieces, both on Instagram and on your website, was scale and size. Tell me, what do they range? When you're saying the quilt is almost too big for your machine, how big is that?
This one that I'm working on currently is probably about 60 to 65 inches wide, and it's probably about I would say 38 inches tall. So it's like the size that would go over a sofa very, and take up that space.
Yeah. Because I don't know why, but I have this affinity for making very big quilts. My last one was 82 by 102. Yeah. And that's too big for me I piece,
right?
But I can't quilt it because my machine is too small, right, and I don't have the workspace. And when you're dealing with something that's that big, they're heavy and you can't move it around. So I send mine out to a gal that has a long arm. She actually has a business, and she'll
long arm and does long arm quilting.
Yeah, and she'll quilt.
And one of the problems, this is technical, but one of the problems that I have is that I tend to quilt very, very closely together.
Yes, I've noticed.
We were noticing that.
So that makes it stiff. It stiffens the piece.
Yeah.
So then it's even harder to push and pull it through.
Sure, because you can't roll it to put it through.
So it's,
Well,
but it's a challenge.
Your pieces are pretty much always intended to be wall pieces. I mean, you're not making quilts for beds. Yeah.
No, not at all. Yeah, no, this is wall art.
Right. Well, we were yesterday, or the day before, Julie and I were talking about how tight you do those. Your piece actually that you have on, is it on the one on Instagram now, where you're showing your sort of echo quilting, and it looks like it's like at 1/4 of an inch.
It is. It's between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch apart.
Wow. All right. So here's a technical question. Yeah. When you're working like that and you're making such, channel tight quilting, how do you keep your fabric flat and not pucker?
I pin it. I really pin the crap out of it. I just, when I'm basting the three pieces together, I pin it pretty closely together. So, maybe about 4 inches or 3 or 4 inches apart, so that it's pinned very well. And then I just work from the inside out and from the inside out. And then it kind of smooths stuff out as you go
out that way.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, because I was wondering if you used anything like temporary spray meant, to no. Okay. Because I know that there's those sort of things available now to hold the fabric tightly in place with the batting.
Yeah, no, I don't use that. I just do it the old-fashioned pinning way.
Can we?
I hope you don't.
Can we take a look around the studio?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna.
I know you have to flip your camera. So.
Yeah, let me flip the camera.
We need Jeopardy music right now.
There you go.
Yes, there we go.
Okay, so I'm just gonna walk over here and go to my front door. I have just moved to this studio about 4 months ago, and it's in the basement of an old brick building in Old Town Pasadena, and I just love it. It's a great space.
So how cool.
Yeah, it's got brick walls. So you walk in, and then you come over here.
Oh my God, we love your organization.
Oh,
some of my fabric.
Get closer, Connie. I want to see.
Oh, so nice.
Okay, so
tell me, the fabric is wrapped on what?
these are wrapped on pieces of, I can show you on the other side of the studio. It's just a piece of cardboard type material. And I bought these a long time ago at some international quilt show in Houston. And I love it because I can just wrap my fabric on it and then I can see what I have.
Yes.
So it's like I've got my palette right in front of me. So, and then I have over here, I have the smaller scraps that I have sorted by color. And I do that because I teach fabric collage. And so it's nice to have, you know, that's the smaller pieces sorted. So that's, and over here, and this is all my stuff in bins. And then over here, I've got my journals and my sketchbooks and books and stuff. Over here, there's my kitchen. Yay.
A quilter always needs a kitchen.
Yep. And my comfy couch to sit on. I've just moved in, so I have nothing on the walls yet. And then this is the rest, more of my fabric. This bookcase is all my hand dyed. I dyed all of these fabrics.
Oh, wow.
So I will start with white fabric and then I dye them all.
Oh my gosh, Connie, I'm so excited and envious.
So
sorry about the dog. And Connie, and those are cotton?
Yes, this is all cotton, Kona or Pima cotton. And I get it by the roll and then I dye it. So these are all cottons. I have other fabrics. I have you'll see I have wools and I have silks and that kind of thing. Okay, so then you come around the corner and around here, Julie, you'll recognize this. This is my tree from the yarn bombing that we did.
Yes, from the airport. My dog is barking in the background.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
it looks great there.
Yeah, this was part of an exhibit out at LAX. And then over here is my sewing corner with my sewing machine, actually my absent sewing machine, my ironing board. And this is the piece that I'm working on right now. Let me see if I can go in a little bit further and you can.
OMG.
So spectacular.
So that's the piece I'm working on, and we'll come back to
that. What are the fabrics, the shiny fabrics? Is that silk?
Yes, this is silk. This is a, the shiny one in the middle is a silk from Thailand. And then the ones on the sides are Dupioni silks.
Wow.
So, and then over here is this bookcase is my silks and my batiks. So you can see, oh, there's the lake where I grew up. In that photograph, you can see that these are the silks. And then over here, I have my batiks.
Now, are those batik silks or batik cottons?
Batik cottons.
Okay.
And World Textiles. And then over here, I have my my desk set up. I love this desk. I found it on the side of the road. It's an old school teacher's wood desk.
Yes, I recognize it.
And then you just walk around and there you are at the beginning again.
Oh my gosh, your studio space is fantastic.
Thank you.
And your fabric is wonderful. And I'm that's like heaven. That your space is heaven.
It just makes me really, really happy to be here.
Yeah, that's nice. Well, and you can go there and be socially distant.
Yes.
And not need to be in close proximity to people. It is a great space.
Yeah. No, I'm the only one down here, so it feels pretty okay right now.
Cool.
Well, I have a question for you because you're in a basement. Do you have difficulty not having natural light? Does that affect you?
It's okay. It is what it is. It's a trade-off, but it's okay because if I want natural light, I can work at home. And I didn't say this, but I have a whole wet studio at home. So I dye all my fabric at home. I have on the deck outside from our house, I have a whole area set up to do dyeing. So if I want natural light, I can work outside at home. I can be at home and there's plenty of light there. So
no, I only ask because I don't know. I'm a funny, like my studio has access to like what are those, like patio doors here, full light. And when it gets dark, I seem to lose my energy. And sometimes I tease and I say, oh, I'm solar powered,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how I would work in a studio that didn't have natural light. If I would
I'll tell you
what?
something that's fun is that I get down here and it feels like it's always the same time. So I will look up and it'll be like hours, later, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, it's like 7 o'clock at night. I'm still here. What am I doing? Because it's the same light all the time. So it just kind of feels, but it's okay. I mean, yes, ideally it would be nice to have some natural light, but I don't need that for the work that I'm doing in this part of the studio.
All right. Well, when you mentioned before about when you were showing the small scraps about teaching,
mm-hmm.
Where have you had those classes? At the will you be doing them at your studio there? Because I just want to know all about your workshops.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I do. I teach workshops. I've taught for like the Glendale Quilt Guild. I've taught for quilt people and guilds. But currently, the past few years, I've been teaching mostly at the Center for the Arts, Eagle Rock. And so they will have me, I'll teach workshops there. And so recently, what with COVID, I've been going to Zoom workshops and teaching online. So shameless self-promotion.
We want you to do that.
Is coming up. It's called Mindful Mending. And we're going to be doing sashiko stitching and mending with that. And we're also going to be darning, and I'm teaching people how to darn the old traditional way so they can fix their sweaters and fix all their clothes. So,
and Connie, yes. Is the information on this on your website?
The information is on my Instagram.
And who are you on Instagram?
It's like my name. It's C Roman 1. So it's Connie. It's C Roman 1 on Instagram. Yeah, and all the information is there. You can go there and hit the link to sign up if you want. So I teach all kinds of textile arts. I teach dyeing. I teach fabric collage. I teach printing on fabric, painting on fabric, all kinds of classes. It's a lot of fun. I love it.
Because I would be so thrilled to take classes with you. I'm especially interested in the surface design using, dyeing. I love printmaking. Yeah. So, do you incorporate that at all?
Yeah, I'm actually going to be teaching a class. I think it's going to be in April. We're just getting it on the calendar now. And it'll be a class of block printing, surface design block printing.
Okay.
And then I'm thinking we'll take the textiles that we block print and then stitch into them. Maybe do a little bit of needle weaving and embroidery stitches and different kind of stitches. So that's another upcoming workshop.
Have you ever used like monoprinting, like jelly prints?
Yes, I've taught that.
Oh, I want to learn how to do that.
It's so much fun. Gelatin.
Are you going to teach it again?
I will teach it again once we start up at the center again, once the COVID stuff is passed. It's kind of too hard to teach it on Zoom. Because you have to have the gelatin plate prints and whatever. So I'm waiting till we can get back into the studio into the center to teach that.
Because Eagle Rock is really far from me. I live over in Topanga, and that's a real distance. But I would beg if you could even give a demo on how, because I have a jelly plate, and
you have one.
I have one, and I've not successfully been able to use it. And
we'll talk, because I can show you different things. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I've done. I've taken workshops, actually from back east. Judy Langeal, I think her name is Lang. I don't know if you're familiar with her. And does beautiful dyeing and shibori dyeing, and she's great with silkscreen, So I love it.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite. I love doing deconstructed screen printing and
Yes.
the shibori dyeing and all of that. Yeah, it's just, I don't think I've ever met a surface design technique that I haven't loved.
That you haven't loved.
Yeah.
Because I was going to ask you to tell us about how you do the dyeing. What's your system, like, do you, because there's different kinds of dyes. How do you do it?
I use Procyon MX dyes.
Okay.
And they're non-toxic dyes, and they're for cotton and natural fabrics. And so I use those to dye my cottons with. And I'll use like an immersion method. Sometimes I'll do scrunch dyeing. Mostly what I do is I dye like color fabrics that are kind of modeled, that look hand dyed, but that are all mostly one color, because I use them as my palette in my work. So, but I've also done like a lot of shibori folding and that kind of dyeing as well. But for the colors that you saw on my wall for my palette, that's how I do that with the
And it's immersion dyeing.
Immersion dyeing, yeah.
Now, how is that heat set? How does that get set?
No, it's basically you soak the fabric in soda ash, and then you add it with the dyes in the water, and you let it sit in I use Ziploc plastic bags. You let it batch in, sit for 24 hours, anywhere from a couple hours to 24 hours, and then you rinse it out, and it's set.
Yeah.
So
it's called cold batching. Yeah.
Yeah, cold batching. Yeah.
If I can interject, I want to ask a question, because one of the places that Connie and I met was an organization called Surface Art Association. And are they still active? Have they switched to online, to Zoom? What's up with them? Do you want to plug them?
I haven't been really involved with the organization. It was a local chapter of the Surface Design Association. So I haven't been active with it. I know that the last time I had heard, they were still having meetings in person, but I'm not sure. And I'm still an active member of the Surface Design Association as well.
Oh, yeah.
As well as SACWA, Studio Art Quilts Association. That's a great organization as well. And little plug for Textile Arts LA, which is a group of people that are really into textile arts in the Los Angeles area. And we have meetings and workshops and all kinds of stuff. It's really a great, fantastic group. If you're interested in fiber arts and you're in the LA area, Textile Arts LA.
And where do they meet when you say LA?
They usually meet at the Helms Bakery in Culver City. So it's kind of central, so everybody can come. Yeah.
Okay, I'm familiar with that area.
Yeah. And any of these could be Googled, and probably when we post this on YouTube, I can find links and put them below this video on YouTube.
Okay. Yeah, you are just a wealth of information. Oh my God. You are wonderful.
So now, Judy.
Yes.
Did you have some other technical questions for Connie, since we're picking her brain?
Yes, I do.
About how she executes the lines and the thin lines on
Yes, I was just going to ask that, because they're amazing. How do you do it?
Oh, it's really hard. It's so hard. Nobody can ever do this. It's basically you put it in your sewing machine, and I have a quilting foot on my Bernina, and it's like a little circle, and it's a certain width wide, and I just use that as a guide. I go past my previous stitch line, and I use that as a guide for how wide to do it, and I just push it.
No.
We're talking about the fabric lines, the letters, and that new quilt had some lines in it.
Oh, okay.
It looks like
that
applique line.
Those lines are bias tape that I made. This piece is a piece called Here and Now. And what I did was I took fabric that I had dyed and I wrote on it with indelible marker. I just wrote all over about what it means to me to be present in the moment, what my past was, what it is to be here and now. And then I cut that into bias strips and made bias tape out of it. And that's what forms if you saw the whole piece, you would see that it forms in my line language series, it forms the words here and now.
Wow.
So it's basically an abstract that looks like an abstract, but if you know, you can read it and you can see, and then you can, if you go in close, you can see the parts of the words and stuff. So
do you stitch that bias tape down by hand?
no, I based it by hand.
Okay.
First I tape it down,
Here's
and
what we're
then I
talking
baste it by
about.
hand, and then I will go in and machine sew it down after it's hand basted. So what you're showing now, that's part of my line language series, and each square in the series is a stylized letter that connects to the other letters next to it. So
Wow.
it's basically an abstract, but if you can read these pieces, if you can follow the letters and you can suss it out, and the letters stay the same. It's basically a font that I made up. So once you've read one of these pieces, you can read any of them.
Yeah. And I was rereading them. I remember from years ago, I was reading them, and then I looked at this again over the last couple of days, and I had to refigure it all out again.
Yeah, right.
So do you turn the edges under on that bias, or is it a raw edge and you stitch close to the raw edge? Being real technical.
Okay, so what you're looking at on my website, that is a different technique. That's called reverse applique. So for that, to create those lines, what I do is I will take two pieces of fabric, sandwich them, and then stitch, the lines, and then cut back as reverse applique, and cut out the lines so that you see the fabric behind comes forward. So that's reverse applique.
All right, but when you do that,
currently was bias tape.
Do you turn under when you're doing the reverse?
I do not turn it's raw edge,
it's raw.
reverse applique.
All right.
I will zigzag the edge so that it's finished.
Okay, because I was wondering if you did like a needle turning on it.
Nah, too much work. There's
a lot.
It would take forever. So and I don't mind the way it looks with the zigzag stitch. So that finishes the edge.
And on this new one you're doing, were those any of your letters? I mean, because it's quite large. Or are those merely lines?
Those are letters. Those letters will spell out here and now.
Oh, okay.
I have also, you can go, if you want to see one of these pieces, I have another piece that I did that is very like this one I'm working on right now. And it's in an exhibition at the Front Porch Gallery in Carlsbad. And if you go to the Front Porch Gallery's website, you can find my piece and you can see how it spells out words. And that one says then. It says, what does it say? Now and then. So that'll give you, if you go there, then you can see an example of like what this piece is going to look like when it's finished.
I'm looking for it. Oh, absolutely. Let me see. Hold on. No. Let me see. I'll get there. I'll get us there.
Yeah, I want to see too. Oh, wow.
No, that's not mine. That's Kathleen's piece.
Oh, okay.
You have to scroll down, and there you can find it. You just go back up a little bit. There
this one.
Roman.
There it is.
Will this get? There we go. Oh God.
Wow.
So each one of those panels, the first panel in the purple lines spells out now. You can see the N, the O, and the W underneath the O.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
And then
yes.
The middle panel says and with a big A, the D on the side, and the N towards it. And then the last panel is then, THEN. So, and I on that piece, that's all deconstructed screen printing on the background fabric that gives it that wonderful texture.
Wow. Oh, nice. So nice. And is it all cotton?
All cottons, yeah.
Very nice.
Thank you.
I love that color palette too.
That was something I was going to actually ask you about, is how, because you Where is it that you mentioned you were auditioning colors, thread colors?
Oh, that was on my Instagram thing where
Okay.
I was looking for which threads to use to quilt a piece, to do the stitching on a piece, because I like to use bold threads that will push and pull the colors of the quilting.
So this another technical question is, what kind of threads do you use? Do you always use a machine cotton quilting thread?
I use I like Gutterman threads, and I
Oh.
just use those. And I mostly use just basic sewing machine thread. Sometimes I'll use a thicker thread if I want it to have a particular texture, but mostly it's just machine, like Gutterman cottons that you can get anywhere, Joann's, wherever.
Well, I asked that because I've always been envious of seeing people's work that have used different weights of thread. But I myself have been always fearful of that because I'm not sure that I'll have my tension straight, and I don't want to mess up my machine, and that sort of thing.
It's just a matter of playing with it.
I'm chicken. I'm a big chicken.
Well, you know what? It's hard to mess up your machine. So you can and that's what scrap fabric is for, is to mess around and play with it.
Yeah, because I've been.
Oh, and also speaking of color, I also teach color theory for people who work with fabrics too.
And that was my next question is, how do you play with the color for your quilt? You mentioned you have sketchbooks. So do you work out your ideas there first, or what?
In terms of color, I'll use the sketchbook to kind of figure out what I'm doing, and how I want it to look. I'll just do little thumbnail sketches. I'm not great at drawing, so I just use it for thinking out loud and it helps to write things down and do little sketches. Then when I'm getting ready to think about the color palette, I'll have something sort of in mind, and then I start pulling fabrics, and it's the actual fabrics themselves that I bring out, and I pull a palette of those fabrics that work together. And I'll use, that's why using basic color theory is a really great idea, because it just shortens it and makes it easier, and you can use it to bring out something that is going to really work and look beautiful together.
Yeah, because they're just so beautiful. I mean, the colors are wonderful.
I love color. Color is like one of my favorite things. Color and nature are really the two things that inspire me.
Those are two good things. They're two good things.
Other question, you use batting. There is a third layer in between. Yeah. What do you use?
Really, I use mostly cotton, 100% cotton battings, and fairly, I don't like the high loft. I use like a low loft, because I like my pieces, because they're going to be hanging on the wall, and I like them to be fairly flat looking.
Really flat. Yeah.
I mean, if I want something to have that, that loft and that width, then I'll use a thicker batting. But most of my pieces are a fairly low bat cotton.
Do you get your batting in big, big roll?
I just buy, I'll go to wherever and get the batting on sale. I'll buy a king size batting that's prepackaged, and that'll be good enough. I'll use that up and then go buy some more.
So do you use something like Warm and Natural, or?
I've used that. I use basically whatever is 100% cotton, because I like to have the cotton. I don't like the feel of the polyester.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I like having all natural.
Have you ever worked with wool?
Yeah, no, I've worked with wool a lot. I have a whole series of, what I did was I took sweaters and repurposed them, felted them, where you throw them in your laundry machine and they come out little tiny shrunk. You just keep doing that and they felt. And so then I cut up a bunch of those and made a bunch of very large wall pieces out of those. So I've worked with that wool that way. I also have worked with wool battings, if that was your question too, so.
Yes, actually it was about the batting. How do you use the batting?
Well, I use just as a regular batting. The thing with wool battings that I found though is, and this is just my personal experience, is that they tend to beard a lot more than cotton. And by bearding, I mean that when you're quilting it, the little tufts of the batting poke through. So that's why I tend to stick with cotton. I like it better.
Mm-hmm. And what do you use for backing fabrics? Are they purchased fabrics, or any of your hand dyed, or?
I use pretty much whatever I have. I use mostly my hand dyes, but if I like have a piece of fabric that's like, not that great, I hand dyed it. I'll put it on, throw it on the back of something. Sometimes I'll just use the plain Kona cotton off of my bolt. If I don't have anything that's big enough, I'll just use that. So it's whatever comes to hand.
Mm-hmm.
I don't usually work with manufactured cottons because I like the feel of the hand dyes. I like the coloration of the hand dyes better.
Mm-hmm.
And they're more individual.
I was going to ask about the wool batting again, because have you ever tried to felt that or dye that, or?
I have dyed it. I have tried dyeing it, and and it does felt up a little bit, and you can dye it, and it gives you an interesting surface. And what I've done with that in the past is taken that and then stitched into it and collaged it, and it's kind of it's an interesting. It's a really nice feel to hand stitch those pieces.
I'm asking only because I have 2 unused king size wool bats.
Well, girl, you got to start, dyeing that and messing around with it.
Oh, Connie, would you like 2 wool?
Are you kidding? I have so much fabric and so much stuff. It's like, I don't need anything more. I need to start using up everything I have.
Yeah. Oh my
God. Everybody has the same story.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's yeah.
A lot of us are trying to work through our stash and not buy anything new.
Well, that was your mantra last year, was, Julie, right? Stash down 2020.
I'm still doing it. I still intend to do it.
It's going to take me years and years and years to do that. The problem is I always need a color that I don't have, so then I have to go and dye it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to ask. I have some new pieces here that I could share if you guys wanted to see.
Oh, please.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
So let me turn it around again.
Okay.
Let's see. How do I do this again? There we go. Okay, and sorry, bear with me.
Oh, no.
It's okay.
So this piece, let me see if I can do it. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So this piece is, my idea with this piece was to do an abstract fiber art piece that looked like an abstract painting. So what I did was I was like trying to get like just the forms and the shapes. And then what I did was to make the lines.
Yeah.
I came in and hand embroidered the lines.
Oh.
Making.
Love it.
So you can.
Yeah.
And then you can see my, my stitching where I go really close. So that's one piece.
Show us the stitching up close, but hold the iPad still for a couple seconds.
Yeah, go over to the orange, that little orange piece at that area too. Now, is that part of the reverse process?
No, this is all applique.
So you just stitch close
to
the cut edge, and
I just pinned it all together and then stitched it down.
That's great. This is kind of a new direction and visual style for you.
Yeah, no, I'm just playing. I'm trying out different things. Here's another piece. Again.
Oh, the colors are awesome.
Thank you. That's what I was going for with this piece, was just the colors. I wanted it to really vibrate and really come.
And that's an example of the bias.
Yes,
tape?
this is an example of, well, this is, you can actually see this is leftover tape from those other pieces where I wrote all over it and then made it into a bias tape.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Nice.
Gee, honey, that's fantastic. Look at that.
you.
Look at that echo quilting. Woo!
Okay, and then here's another piece. Oops. There goes my. So this is a piece from my series from of shorthand series from my lost language series. And this the lines in this, the motif is shorthand, and it reads "The truth matters."
Great.
Oh,
And is this a
man.
small silk screen?
This
Or-
is deconstructed silk. This is deconstructed screen printing. Yes, that's correct.
Great.
And so you can see right here, this is "The truth matters."
Nice, nice, nice.
So that's what
Oh,
this piece
Connie,
is.
that's fantastic.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
And then
And,
I have one
and you
other
know what,
piece I
Connie?
wanted.
That piece speaks so strongly today.
Oh well, yeah, right. Isn't it?
Yes.
Like appropriate time wise? This
Yeah.
piece is
Art is.
Yes.
I can't see the bottom.
Okay. It says "Art is life."
Oh, okay.
So this is part of my line language series.
Yeah.
And you can see, I'll go in. And
Oh,
you can see
it's reverse applique.
it's reverse applique.
Oh, wow.
Nice, nice, nice.
Oh my God, it's awesome.
Yep.
Okay,
Wonderful.
that's good.
So then you do those in, like the big square. You have that's a reverse applique, and then you sew the squares together. Obviously, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
Man,
This is wonderful.
You are good, girlfriend. You are good.
You know what? It makes me happy to do this stuff. I love it. And I love the process of it too. It's very meditative and it takes forever. And sometimes I get frustrated because, like, a painter can, some painters can just whip out a painting in a few days.
Right. A painting a day. Yeah.
Yeah. And, or they paint something, they don't like it, they can just paint right over it.
Yeah.
For this work, you kind of have to have an idea ahead of time of how it's going to look. And then the process takes so long to do it. It takes, it can take me a month to do a piece.
I can relate. I can relate.
Yeah. But on the other hand, I love the process. I love the meditative part of it. I love to listen to books on tape. I listen to NPR. I just, it really is. It really makes me happy to be able to do this work.
Yeah. So then
I totally relate, with the coiling. Coiling is a slow process. And yesterday was an amazingly crazy day. And I was just working on this little piece and it was amazingly soothing. Also, because with coiling, with this particular thing and with a lot of coiling, you need to pull it really tight. So it was great to just be pulling this really tight every, every
yesterday
loop around. Yeah. So
I gotta say, Julie, I have been looking at on Instagram on your process of doing this every day this month, and I really like these coiling pieces you're doing.
I'm digging it. I'm really liking it, and so and thank you. But I'm really enjoying it. But it's very similar to what you were talking about with the quilting. It's meditative. I listen to stuff. I watch Netflix. I listen to podcasts, and it does take a very long time. Yeah. It's very slow. It always is. It's not just me. I've talked to many people.
I think that's part of what makes this art form really wonderful is that you're imbuing it with the time and the space and the time it takes to make something. It's handcrafted, it's hand done. You've set aside that and I think that imbues the finished piece.
Yeah. It does.
So your work process, then you like working alone. Is that?
Oh yeah.
Because sometimes I feel that I like working in the company of others. Like I
like that too. I mean, and actually what feeds me is teaching, because then I get that, group, everybody's working together and they're working on their projects. So I like that. And I've done group projects together, where we, I mean, the yarn bombing and group quilts and, large pieces together. But I also, I think I'm more of an introvert than I thought I was growing up. I mean, I'm like an extroverted introvert, if there is such a thing. Whereas I love to be around people. I love talking. I love all that stuff. But I also really love to be alone and to just be working on, put my head down and just be in the zone of what I'm working on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I never get bored by, when I'm alone.
Yeah.
There's just too much to do and too much to explore.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in your studio and you're surrounded by your materials and you design you have an idea and, a crude sketch, but then the design process is just pulling out materials and putting them together and making those decisions of, the color palette and how it's going to go. So that's just, really get into a deep concentration doing that. Yeah.
Do you ever work on multiple pieces at the same time, or are you? Oh, okay. So you're not
both. It's like it depends. Like right now, I'm working on this one piece because I want to get it finished to submit it for an exhibition. But I will quite often have a couple of different pieces going, because I find that like if I get like stuck with one piece, then I can go to the other piece and and do something on that. The other thing I'll do is if I'm finding I'm stuck on one piece, then I'll just go and dye a bunch of fabric or do something like that. So I always have like different things going on. Sometimes I'll have hand work that I can do at home, when I'm at home at night or whatever. And then I'll, come back in the studio and be working on the machine. So
that brings up a good question. How do you finish the edges? Because it's been a long time since I've seen one of your pieces in person.
You mean the edges of the outer edges of it?
Yeah, the outer edges of a finished piece.
Okay, so I'll put a facing on it. So I basically do all of the quilting, with the 3 layers, and then I cut it to the size I want it, and I'll put a facing, so a 1/4 inch seam facing, and flip it around to the back, and then I hand whip that down.
So you put a binding on it.
It's not a binding, it's a facing.
No?
So if we looked on the back of your quilt, we would see the backing fabric, but around the edges would be the facing.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
Yeah, because I'm a little confused.
I'm going to show you.
I'd like to, not binding. Good question.
Okay, so this is the front edge of this quilt right here. I don't know if you can see that. And then this is the back of it.
So, and the facing is just a solid piece of fabric.
So this is white. That's a piece of white fabric that's doubled over, and then I whip stitched it down. But so the front of it.
Yeah.
So it's just a very clean
There's no binding on the front edge.
There's no binding. Okay.
It's just a flat edge.
Yeah. And do you do a rod pocket on the back?
Yes. There is a rod pocket on all of my pieces so that you can hang it with the dowel through it. That's how you hang these pieces.
Right.
Yep.
Oh, thank you for that. That was a great question.
Can I show you something else?
Please.
Show you something else. So this is another thing I've been doing. You can't really see this, but basically this is a weaving that I have then incorporated into using fabric to do a collage.
Oh.
So
nice.
Here's another one.
Whoop. Go the other direction. Yeah, that's very nice. Nice.
Oh, wow.
And then I just have these piled up here. I don't know if you can see this. That's just this is really too hard to see.
Yeah, well, no, it's working. That's
no.
Love it.
Yeah, that's really
good.
So
that's just
hold it still.
Yeah.
This is just a hand
awesome.
painted and dyed and collaged stitched piece.
Nice. So, and has the Royal Arts Collective still been doing the studio tour? I mean, obviously not in 2020. Did it fall away?
Well, you know, it sort of petered it out. So they're not doing the Discovery Tour anymore, which is too bad, because I always had my open studio there, and it was a nice way to show people my work. So they're not doing it anymore. They're doing more individual exhibitions and that sort of thing. So, and in my previous studio, I was at Keystone Art Space with 50 other artists, and I would have open studios there. So, and that's a thing of the past, because now I'm in my own space.
Yeah.
So when COVID's over, I will do open studios again. And I'm also exploring. Here's another thing I'm doing. I wanted to mention is I'm going to have a shop on my website. So I will have all of the work that I have available will be on my website. I will also be selling felt bowls and the small odd socks creatures that I make. So small things as well as the larger art pieces.
Oh, shall we take a look at those?
Well, it's not, you can take a look at the odd socks if you want. The shop is not up yet. I'm just starting to build it. So it's going to be about a month or so before it's online.
Oh, I can't wait.
Here's an example. Are these older? Are these current?
These are all older. These are just like ones that I've done in the past. These
are they're so much fun.
These are like these odd creatures that I make, and there's a bunch. There's 3 of them that are at the Children's Hospital in LA, and then there's a bunch of them that are in England, and there's a producer director who's looking at making a series out of them.
Oh my God, they're so cute. What are they made out of, Connie?
Socks. They're made out of socks. I cut up the socks and make, weird appendages and sew them together.
So stinking cute.
Do you hand sew all the little things that like form the lips and the legs and stuff?
Yeah.
Great.
I mean, sometimes to form the legs and the arms, I'll machine stitch that, but most of it's hand sewn.
Where the hell do you find such cute socks?
Oh, I'll tell you, Target.
Oh yeah.
Target has they have like all kinds of patterned socks and stuff, and places like that you can find and then you start doing them, and then people start asking, or they start giving you socks. But
yes.
I also that's right, like what you ask for.
So you become
right. You go.
But I also teach that. I also teach that as a class too at the center.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh, I want to take that class.
Yeah, we just did that. We just did that as a Zoom class, and that was a lot of fun.
I got to get on. Do you have a mailing list? How can we be kept in the loop of what you're doing?
That's a really good question. I do have a mailing list, and you can go to my website, and you can email me, and I will add you to my mailing list.
Right. I have my notes for today. I'm putting that down right now. So I'm going to email you.
So my email address is croman@yahoo.com. No, croman1. Sorry, croman1@yahoo.com. But you can go to my website and just email me from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And your website is at the bottom. I put your website at the bottom with your Instagram handle.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. So that's good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I want to know what it is that you're doing. I want to stay on top of all your escapades and classes and oh yeah.
Well, and I also try and do the most current stuff on Instagram too. So
yeah.
But Instagram for me can sometimes be problematic because there's so many things to see, and I don't always see everything that everybody posts.
Right, because it doesn't come up in your feed. Yeah.
Or it comes up in my feed, but I have, there's so many, and I get like, I've had enough for today, and maybe I get this much of the post, and you're over here, and I didn't see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if getting on an email list.
So get you on the email list.
I'm a happy girl.
And also just checking the Center for the Arts Eagle Rock too, because that's where I'm doing most of my teaching right now.
Yeah, and they used to, hopefully they still will, Center for the Arts Eagle Rocks will post on LA Culture Net, which is this wonderful resource in Los Angeles, and you can sign up for it. Sign up for a digest of the postings, and you get an email every couple days with all these incredible, wonderful things that are happening in Los Angeles.
Well,
And,
that's great.
I think they post on there because I've seen it, but everything changed this past year, so who knows what things will be going forward. But LA Culture Net is still a great resource. And so but I imagine that the Eagle Rock Center is not really functioning right now.
No, the center's not really open physically right now. They're doing online classes, and they do actually have a pretty good roster of online classes that they're doing, but the center itself is still closed. We were talking about possibly doing some classes in parks, but that's not going to happen right now either.
No, not right now. And for your Zoom classes, do you have a camera and computer set up somewhere at home with
at home I have the Zoom. I have a desktop at home, and then I have the camera so that you can see what I'm doing with my hands. So I've got that set up at home.
So do you have Zoom classes that are going to be coming up in the near future? Is that things you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, the only things that I have on the roster, right, are the mindful mending workshop that we talked about earlier, and then this the upcoming block printing at the Center for the Arts. So those are going to be Zoom classes. Other than that, I haven't really put anything on the calendar yet.
Yeah, any ideas for things? What's things that might just?
I mean, I it's hard to figure out the Zoom classes, because people need to have, the stuff. And then anyways, it's hard to, it's much harder to do it on Zoom because what I teach is very hands-on.
Yeah. You have a lot of specific materials.
Yeah. But I just did a workshop on, called experimenting with painting and stitching on fabric. And so what we did was we took fabric and then used fabric paints to paint on it, tape off sections, mask off sections, paint again, build up layers, and came out with really interesting pieces of fabric that then we went back in and stitched on and added texture and details with the stitching. So that was fun.
I have a question, about fabric painting. Do you use specific like fabric paints, or could you just use, an acrylic, dilute an acrylic? Are they that different?
The answer is yes, you can use all of those. You can use acrylics, you can use fabric paints, you can use fabric inks. The acrylic, if you're going to use it, you should water it down a little bit, not too much so that you lose pigment, but just water it down a little bit, and it will still stiffen the fabric. So if that's okay with you, go ahead and use acrylic paints. If not, if you want to have no hand, where it's just soft and it's the feel of the fabric, I would go with fabric inks, like you use with screen printing. You can also use fabric paints, which are still really, really good. It's soft. It doesn't stiffen the fabric as much.
Really? Okay.
And I like to use, it still will add stiffness to the fabric, but it's not as much as like say the acrylics. So, and I like to use Jacquard's fabric paints.
Yeah. And they're readily available. They're easy.
They're readily available.
Yeah. And they have a great wide range of colors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're called Dynaflow. I'm not sure, but anyways.
Yeah, because I
remember that name. Yeah.
I was going to ask if you had any specific, brands that you liked. So Jacquard,
Jacquard, Jacquard Dynaflow for the fabric paints. Acrylic, really basically whatever. And for the fabric inks, I like Speedball.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Just the Speedball inks for screen printing.
Yeah.
And that you can use to paint with or to block print with.
Judy's taking notes. We're interviewing you, but really picking you.
Let's see, what else could I ask?
Because I love everything that you do. It's like right up my alley. It's all right up my alley.
Yeah.
Well, we want to thank you, Connie. You have been so gracious. You've, welcomed us into your studio. You've shared your work, your thought process, your expertise. You're really just wonderful. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you. Well, this has been fun. It's always fun to chat with you guys. So
Yeah, it's been good seeing you.
I know, right?
Yes, I hope we
I
can.
think the last time I saw you in person, Julie, was when we were in Thailand.
Well, yeah. God,
Maybe.
that's 4 years ago, because Facebook keeps showing me memories of that. And for the last few months, I've been sharing those on Facebook, going, "Oh yeah," and then today it was just like, shut up already. Stop reminding me. But
we took a great trip on a textile arts trip to Thailand together. That was really fun.
Yeah, it would be great to do something like that again someday. And I don't know. Hopefully there will be some yarn bombing project. Last time we talked to, last time I talked to Darlin, there was something on the horizon. So maybe
that'd be cool.
There is.
Yeah.
Something coming up, I think, later this spring.
Well, that'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Connie, it's been great seeing you. Thank you for being our guest. This has been wonderful. And so I guess we wrap up. And we do want to say that fortunately, we have people lined up for every Thursday in January, which is good, because maybe we'll all get through January 2021.
Fingers crossed, everybody.
Yeah.
And next week, we're going to be visiting the Yarn Over truck. And that'll be exciting, because she just, at the end of December, she redid her whole inventory and has new merchandise. So that'll be exciting for all the knitters out there. Mm-hmm. And then after we confirm the guests for the 21st and the 28th, we'll tell you about that. And I guess we could say goodbye now.
Yes.
All right.
All right, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
So bye, and thank you again, Connie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.